We're live now.
Welcome, everybody, to the June 23rd, 2026 Small Business and Local Economy Committee meeting for Community Board 2 in Queens. We have a robust agenda for our purposes. For us, we usually don't have a big one, but the first item up for the agenda is to have our Sunnyside Shines Business Improvement District Director, Dirk, who we all know well, is coming to talk to us about a funding vote he'd like us to support with a letter or resolution. So I'm going to turn it over to Dirk. He can let us know about this funding opportunity so that we can decide if we want to vote on this tonight and support it. So Dirk, over to you.
Thank you so much, Maury. So basically, this is a program through Empire State Development, which is the statewide economic development organization. And the program is called Main Street USA. And it's funding that allows you to do building repairs and facade repairs. So 50% of the money is put forward by the building owner, and the other 50% comes from the state. But you have to apply to the program to be allowed to be accepted and voted in. It gets voted in by the governor's Regional Economic Development Corporation, the different councils. We'd be voted on by the one in New York City. And there's no guarantee we'll get it, but we have to have an authorizing resolution from the community board to even be allowed to apply. And so we're looking at 2 blocks on 47th Avenue between 39th Street and 41st Street. And it's just going to be those 2 blocks.
Just so I can jot it down real quick. You said 47th what?
47th Avenue between 39th Street and 41st Street. So it's 2 blocks. And we're going to have 6 property owners with letters and showing their financials. But we have to have the community board resolution saying that you guys like the idea, and then we get to do it.
Can we just do a letter, or does it has to be a resolution?
A letter is fine.
Okay. All right. And who is the letter addressed to?
Yeah, it's in that reso that I sent over to you. I get you the actual address. It's to the head of Empire State Development, Hope Knight.
Empire State.
So what does it actually look like? In other words, like how is the funding used, and like what's an example?
Okay, so basically working on like pull down gates and fixing the gates, fixing windows, fixing building facades. It's basically anything where the property owner can prove that they want to facade, and we provide half the money from the state. It's managed by the Pickett Avenue bid in Brooklyn does this. Flatbush Avenue bid in Brooklyn does this. 2 bids in the Bronx are applying for it this year, but they go through the Bronx REDC, and then we're applying for it here in Sunnyside to see if we can fix some of the blocks on 47th Avenue where they have a big need. It has to be in a lower economic development zone, and those 2 blocks qualify. And if nobody takes advantage of it there, we can take it down to 48th Avenue.
Cool.
But that's after 6 months. So hopefully they'll award us $250,000 just for this program, and it should be pretty easy. Pickett Avenue's been doing it for about 10 years at this point.
Does the state look at each what am I trying to say? Will Sunnyside Shines be the one that kind of approves approves of what's done?
No, it's approved by the state. It's approved by Economic Development Corporation.
So each actual project.
Yeah, we bring it to them, and then they either approve or disapprove. Okay. But this secures us the chance to actually apply for the money. There's no guarantee, even with your resolution or letter, that we get it, but we're going to apply.
But I think Kenny means who decides which property gets it?
The state.
So they decide which individual.
Yeah, they'll get all the applications, they'll look through everything, and then the state makes the decision. It's not us.
They just give you the money to support it, or?
Half the money for the project. So the property owner has to pony up 50% of the property.
I'll just add, share. This is an extremely competitive RFP process, but the model itself is extremely effective. And as Dirk pointed out, there are many other commercial corridors around the city that have been able to access this funding, and they've been able to do some pretty phenomenal things across those corridors.
Sounds great.
Thanks, William. All
Thanks,
right.
William.
So I'd like to put it to a vote to make a motion to support to write a letter in support of Sunnyside Shines Business Improvement District for this grant to help the businesses in the community in this one specific area. Do we have a second?
I
A
second.
second.
Okay, I think Kenny seconded it. And I think we do have a quorum because we're only missing one member. Who's in, can we see a show of hands of who's in favor of this? Evelyn, did you vote? Okay, Evelyn voted, so it's unanimous for those who are here that I think yeah, what was it? So it's Evelyn, me, William, Kenny, and that's it, 4, right? Oh, Eric, are you officially a member of the committee? I can't remember.
I'm not.
Okay, so in spirit, you voted for it. So thank you. So there we go. So it passes. We'll write a letter. Dirk,
Thank you,
can you
guys.
send,
Have an amazing agenda, an amazing meeting. I'll talk to you guys later.
wait, Dirk, before you go,
Yes.
can you send the copy of the sample resolution and the
Yes.
other information
I'll get
to
that all over to you.
Raphael?
Yes.
Send it to Raphael so we can get all the, so we have.
Raphael, you'll have it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dirk.
When
Take care.
does the letter have to be in by?
By the end of the month.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Catch you guys
No
later.
problem. We'll get it done. All right, so we got that done. The other, I'll continue what we were talking about before, which was, I'll go back to sharing my screen. Evelyn, right before you came in, we were talking about the this bill that was in the Senate for 2025 and 26, which was the rent stabilization, commercial rents, or no, it's called the New York City Small Business Rent Stabilization Act. And it'll probably be reintroduced next year because it didn't go anywhere this year. It's going to take a while for this thing to get moving. When I called the assembly sponsor's office to see, get details on it. It's worthwhile if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. I know short notice, we sent it out yesterday. That's my fault. Take some time to read it. It'll probably get changed a little bit, but I think in the past when we talked about this, I think last month or the month before, 2 months, the main, I think it was the April meeting, we might have brought it up. There was interest in it. So if there's still interest in it, please read it, and then we can decide whether or not we want to support it. We can plan like a September vote. Unless everybody's like so excited about it, we want to just vote on it now. But it's probably better to see the new language when it comes out in the new session. Did anybody have any comments on it or have a chance to read about it? Read the.
Yeah, so I gotta say, this is actually a really great bill. They've sort of expounded on a previous bill that's been sitting in committee for years now. And the idea is similar to what the mayor imposed recently with the tax-a-share or cheddar tax on second homes for millionaires. And I actually had a conversation with the comptroller regarding this during the whole budget conversation with the deficit. And I'm really pushing the notion of there being a tax on empty lots. I think Sherry, you and I have spoken about this. So I think this bill is sort of like a start to that. I know Senator Salazar really well. We've worked on previous bills together. He's very instrumental in the, I think, tenant organizing world, and tenant advocacy, I should say. So I do think that this bill has some good meats and potatoes. I think, though, we need to really get more sponsors behind this bill because I don't think Salazar is really, and I love her, this is not a hit on her, but I don't think she's really the person to get this across the finish line. This bill, we're talking about that the main tenets of this is limiting commercial rent increases, um, giving commercial tenants a right to renew their leases. I think we all can agree here as a chair, 10-year leases should be the minimum for small businesses. So this helps to create long-term lease protections. I just think there's some other key members, both in the Assembly and the Senate, that we can really start having conversations with. That I will be more than happy to do because I think this is really important for our community board district.
Great input, William. So I think then it's probably premature for us to vote on it, unless we decide we want to maybe if we want to advocate first. And I think if we're going to write a letter, it may be worthwhile to wait until the elections are over, since things are going to change a little, may change a little, or at least our own assembly member will be new, and our senator will be new for this district. And actually, well, we have one senator. Well, there's going to be changes,
So
obviously.
a whole new landscape.
Yeah, we got a whole new landscape. So, and I think you're right, William. We should advocate for this not only with our own legislators in our own district, but we can reach out to others, and maybe we can even build some support in with some other community boards that are maybe, or they find out that we've put stuff out like this, then maybe other boards will decide to write a letter in support too. And to your point, William, I wonder if we should do two separate letters, or just have one comprehensive letter. But I feel like maybe it should be two letters. One that really advocates for taxing empty lots or empty storefronts, which we hear more and more people talking about, but there's no action on it, and it really degrades a community when there's just big empty spaces and they get tax breaks forever. And I don't know if that's on just a federal level or if it's on a local level as well. But I think we should get informed about that and consider advocating for imposition for property owners that are holding on to property empty and not, they probably have to lower the rent a little for people to move into it. But then there's no incentive for them to rent at a lower rate if they're getting tax breaks, it seems.
Yeah, I would add, or I guess I'm curious to hear the committee's thoughts on it as well. But well, I'm curious to know more about whether or not it would be helpful to maybe add other provisions to this, because as it stands, there's those main sentiments that I mentioned within the bill. But I wonder if we can also advocate, one, not just for the bill, but two, what we see as a more comprehensive bill, while trying to get more sponsors to support it with other community boards.
Actually, that's a great idea. Maybe we have one comprehensive letter that it can refer to the bills, but it can be more about, we need comprehensive commercial real estate. I don't know if it's reform or what we would call it, but it's focused on small businesses and mom and pop shops.
Yeah, and this is a state level. This would have to be a state level policy. It's not just on a local level. Property taxes are only increased on the state level. So, or I could be wrong there, but yeah, I think it's not, well, to your question about whether or not this is federal, it isn't. It's just, is there political will on the state level for something like this to happen? Because this would be a huge reform. But given the current political climate and what the governor is really focusing on, I think there's room for us, if we could build a coalition as well with other community board members, to really make this happen.
Maybe we can team up with the land use committee and any other relevant committees on our board, and then of course other community boards. Does anybody want to take the initiative to like write a draft of something for this draft letter that we can work on, and we could, it doesn't have to be finished, in a month. It could be something we draft and work over the summer at our leisure, and then we can vote on it in September.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I'm kind of really invested in this one because I think this is a big thing for Woodside, especially. Just seeing all the turnovers and how the small businesses are extremely affected by the state market rate. I already volunteered for this when you sent that initial email, so I'm happy to take a stab at that first draft if you'd like.
That would be great. And if you want to, do it as like a shared document, and then we can all kind of chime in. So it's not all on you, but if you just take the initiative to start it and run the document, and then we can share it with the office, with Raphael and everybody on the committee. And of course, Eric as well, if he's interested. I think we'll get a lot of input. Thank you, Eric. All right, so let's do that. Let's do that. I'll leave that to you to spearhead, William.
Can you give me a deadline to, like, let's say early August, just because I've got a lot of things up in the air right now.
That's fine. And even if you want to just start a document and then just put 5 bullet points at the top, you don't have to feel like you have to do it all. That way we can all kind of chime in, or we can wait, and knowing that you're going to hit it in August. That's fine. Okay, that's good.
You got it.
So in August, deadline to have a rough draft, but maybe sooner, some just bullet points and a document open and shared with us all. Okay, great. And once you create the document, just send the link to the office and me, and then we can make sure everybody on the committee has access to it, and Eric.
No problem.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda was, I just wanted to put it out there. We are the Small Business and Local Economy Committee, and we talk so much about small business and mom and pop shops. We don't often talk about the local economy, and it really came up to me a lot lately because Raphael, to his credit, is always sending me emails that come through the office, the community board office, that have to do with like jobs and recruitment for like the airports, or he sent me one the other day for Brooklyn Library, and other kind of education and outreach and things. So I was thinking, what can we do to realize the full breadth of the committee, not just being small business, but also addressing local economy? Is it jobs, youth jobs? Like what else could it be, and what kind of speakers or engagement might we have with the community and our local government to address local economy? Do we invite some university professor that deals with local economy or micro local economy? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Any thoughts?
Well, it's a complex, interconnected realm, really. It's sort of like anything I think of generates 2 or 3 more trajectories from that. I'm just thinking that you have a lot of sectors, and it'd be interesting to sort of get a better understanding of how these sectors influence each other, both either positively or in some cases negatively. So, a huge example, a glaring example of that would be the development sector, which really in many ways has its thumb on the scale, quite a bit. And I don't know quite where to begin and what this discussion looks like, but it might be interesting to just, since developers do wield a lot of control over the direction of the local economy, it might be interesting to sort of bring them in and discuss kind of, instead of like we're usually sort of sitting with them, bargaining of sorts over the table at land use, but we never just sit down and have a more generalized aspirational discussion.
That's actually a great idea. Do, would you think like who would you think we would invite like to have that? Just a few local developers, or is there an association that focuses on I guess because and actually you make a really good point because it's not just commercial developers, it's also the residential developer because they impact the local economy. Does it change? Does it gentrify? Does it push people out? So who would we invite? Would we invite Rebney or who do we?
I don't know, I actually, by, just happenstance, ended up talking with John McMillan last week from TF Cornerstone. I think he's actually retired from them, but he's still kind of very interested in, I kind of feel his heart is genuinely with the community. And it was interesting just, hearing some thoughts that he had about a lot of various things, which, I'm not really, I don't feel it's my place to talk about what we talked about, but there are people out there in that sector that I think each of the larger developers has somebody that essentially their role is to be a community liaison. And so that would be, that type of person would be, the one to talk to. And, a little bit of it is window dressing, I know. But I still think it doesn't hurt to, really share perspectives.
Yeah, I agree, and I really appreciate that approach because if we're all not sitting down and actually having conversations, open dialogue, then it's really hard to move forward with anything that could be substantial. Not all developers are bad developers, not all tenants are good tenants, right? And so I would add though to this conversation because economic development is a pretty complex topic, and I wonder if it helps us to narrow down what our scope should be because I think, Chair, you also pointed this out, are we talking about workforce development? Are we talking about investment and development? What are we really talking about? So what is the actual need currently for our community boards that we think could really make a positive impact for economic development? I can speak from just what I understand to be true within the community, with my lens, with what's on the move. We had a job fair a few months back, and it was a huge hit. And we were able to assess through our surveys that there's a huge need. So I would say that workforce development is very critical at this juncture. But I do think that there's a way where we can have all these conversations. We just need to know what is it that we're trying to do. Because if we're having a conversation with developers, what exactly are we trying to accomplish? And having that conversation. So Kenny, I actually agree with you, by the way. I'm not.
No, I 100% hear you, because it's really like, I'm not in the mood for a feel-good conversation. It's nice to have an actual focus and a plan. Absolutely. Since you mentioned economic development, it occurred to me, EDC is someone that we should invite.
Definitely. And even the Queens Chamber of Commerce, they have a lot of connections across the county. I mean, and even Long Island, when it comes to developers and you know, they do a lot of work around that.
Um,
And actually, you remind, because I actually meant the city's EDC, but you're right, there is also the Queen's EDC.
that's what I was just gonna ask you which
Yeah.
one you meant. But yeah, yeah. Um,
It wouldn't hurt, and this is maybe I shouldn't say this on record, but even NYC EDC, I'm not a huge fan of theirs, but it wouldn't hurt to maybe include them in a conversation at a later point.
Well, and they have new leadership now, and I don't know much about that. But I always like to kind of I feel it's always nice to get in when people are fresh and new.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
um, maybe somebody from like the controller's office. I don't know. The city
Ooh,
controller
yes.
will come and speak.
Definitely SBS. What do you think?
Yeah, we've had a few people, but I think it would be good to continue our conversation with them because we've had people from the fast team or the best team rather, the best team, and we had somebody else, which I think that's good. But I think if especially if we get somebody that's not because we've done it already, some of the very specific things, but if we look at it from the angle of or through the lens of um the local economy. So if there's an office or contacts through SBS that focus on local economy. The other thing I thought was, and maybe this would be good even at the beginning to just kind of help frame us to help us think about like to William, your point, like what are we trying to accomplish? And Kenny, your point, like you're not here just for a feel good conversation. So let's get stuff done. So like maybe again, first part of this is like, okay, what for the Small Business and Local Economy Committee of CB2, what is our function? What is our purpose? And maybe that's what we have to understand. What do we do? What are our goals and focus regarding the local economy? And maybe we don't know yet, so maybe we have to understand that. Maybe by having some of these guests come in, that will help us narrow that. And maybe we could find out if there's somebody, like I said earlier, from one of the universities, maybe who can. This is like, you know, could be. We don't want it to be too academic. We want it to be understand like what are the practical things we need to understand as CB2 committee. What do we need to understand about the local economy and what can we actually how can we actually benefit the local economy? What are the things in our ability to do? Is it just having conversations? Is it advocating for things? Um, uh, yeah, I don't know. And maybe the beginning just starts out bringing some of these people to come in and speak, so it helps us understand what makes sense to us.
So I wanna ask for clarity. Are we saying should we have a better understanding of what our purpose and intent is as a committee, and then invite these folks to help us maybe expand on that understanding, and then we can figure out what our focus should be for economic development?
Yeah, well, I guess one we could argue it because we're called small business and local economy. What does local economy mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Yeah, I agree.
Does it mean economic development? Yes or no? Does it mean
Mm,
helping our small businesses and helping, our youth get jobs in the summer or help figure out and advocate for the community in like, workforce shifting? I mean, obviously a lot of these things we can't do, but like, are we able to act as a liaison or hosting events or encouraging or advocating for events in the community or just informing the community of what's happening, advocating for the board, as our social media, hopefully maybe work with the engagement committee, getting word out on social media when there are job events or whatever it is, or like if people are concerned about gentrification and people getting pushed out of the neighborhood, how do we address that as a committee?
mm. I sorry to everyone else here today. I feel like I'm taking up a lot of space. I don't know. Maybe it's the endorphins that are just being released in my brain right now. But, but I this is just my input here. I think we should. I like the idea of us having a better understanding of who we are as a committee. What is it we're trying to accomplish? And that is by just creating a clear purpose, intent, and even scope. And I think if we could start there, that could be our roadmap to figure everything else out. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, though, Chair. I think the committee didn't the name change a couple of years ago? Weren't we at one point small business and economic development, or has it always been what it is
No,
currently?
we're always, when I created this committee, I created a small business and local economy because I
Okay.
wanted it to be really focused, especially on small business and mom and pop and real small businesses, not, the SBA's definition of a small business, which is like 200 employees or fewer. I mean, that's not, to me, it's 200 employees is a decent sized business.
I think somewhere back, way back when I first started as chair, I think we actually wrote
Yes, you did, and I
yeah.
have it somewhere.
Okay,
Did I
so
send
good.
Did I send it to you, Raphael? Didn't I send it to you recently?
The mission statement?
For the
Yeah.
Small Business Committee? Do
Yeah.
you mind sharing that again with the whole committee?
Yeah. I look
Okay,
for it.
it doesn't have to be now, but if we share that, then we can share it as a Google Doc or whatever, and
And then,
then maybe we can refine it and tighten it up, and it was meant to be a living organic document, so now we can kind of, now that it's a couple years old, the committee, we can look at, what are the things we want to add. How do we
because it seems what we're striving for, like I think the mission statement sort of covered, what we would like to look at and support kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I think what we're struggling to define right now is how to convert that into action.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that will be useful for us. I think that would be really useful. And maybe like I said, maybe we have somebody come in, whether they're like an NGO or a professor or whatever college program that focuses on local economy. Maybe they can talk to us. Maybe they have expertise in how community folks can get involved in their local economy. And maybe that'll help, create ideas for us that we didn't maybe otherwise think of. And this is, I mean, pie in the sky, like, this is something all of us can think about and shape this committee, how we want it to be and what we want to focus on and how we think it'll best serve the community. Um, um,
Good.
oh, I see, that was fast. Thank you, Raphael.
You know it. I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. I'll be right
Okay, go
back.
ahead. So,
I
does
think this
everybody
is a
have to
great
speak?
opportunity for us to all be in alignment because, yeah, this will really help us kind of repurpose ourselves.
Yeah, because in the beginning, we had the committee's mission is to support local economy by identifying issues that impact small businesses, to advocate for and assist small businesses so they're sustainable and can achieve healthy growth, and increase awareness of mutual resources within the community as well as within government. Maybe this is where we can expand
Mm.
it to focus on local economy, not just small business. Obviously, how small business, the inverse relationship between small business and local economy, but what else impacts the local economy? Maybe we
I
have
think
to.
like what I've been seeing within the bid and also within the community is that we lack awareness of our local resources. And what I mean by that is like a lot of our businesses don't know about SYAP. So then it would be me going into the businesses and telling them, hey, SYAP is a great tool to have like in the summer or the winter because they're children, but they also know TikTok, they know Instagram, they know marketing and or just tedious tasks that you may need help with. As well as like let's say in the community, we've seen a spike in our Instagram when we started putting local jobs. And we had tons and tons of people messaging us and saying like, "Oh, can I apply for this? Can I apply for that?" And so we saw that there's a huge need of local like side gigs. as well as and then there's some people that come to our office and they're like, oh well, where can I get English classes? So many locals don't know that Sunnyside Community Service has um, English classes or nursing classes, or they don't know that Sunnyside Shines can help them with city liaisonship and like things like that, like awareness to your local resources. What could community board do to help the community and any business with anything that they may need? I think just awareness of what's around you, like what does QEDC do? What does what does all these agencies do? And I think we can start with that, because once they know what tools they can use, then we can kind of elaborate on how to use them.
Evelyn, that's great. That's a really
Yeah.
something that we haven't thought about, and you see every day in your work. So that's a good point. And I this idea of lack of awareness of the resources, and I think it's both business resources, but as you pointed out, like ESL resources, other resources that may have an indirect impact on the local economy. What else is going on? Like what's going on at Sunnyside Community Services, Woodside on the Move, with the bids, with SBS, and what other things that we're not even thinking of that aren't directly related to business or necessarily the local economy that ultimately could impact the local economy, right? But
Right, because even in Sunnyside, we have the Catholic Charities who do pro bono work. What's on the Move has housing resources, and like things like that. Like not many people know about these things, so you really have to know someone in order to know these resources. So if we make it aware to everyone who comes, to if we do like a resource fair or something like that, it would be very helpful for our local economy, because they would be well informed.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Evelyn. I see that Eric just posted something about the business services from LaGuardia, the business and entrepreneurial services. They have a whole bunch of things going on. I always thought they just had that one thing. There was that I don't even remember what it was called. There was like do you remember what it was called, Evelyn? At LaGuardia, there was like there was like a center or something. Was
They
that
have the business expo there. They
they
have a
have a
lot
business
going on.
expo there?
Yeah, they do a lot actually.
Oh,
Yeah, and LaGuardia is a huge tool as well that that
Yeah,
can
yeah,
serve the community,
they
and
could be
not
our
many people
anchor.
know.
they
Yeah,
should be our anchor. All right,
they could be our anchor.
I will reach out to them. There was something I forgot. I don't even actually the thing I was thinking about. I don't even think it was part of LaGuardia, but they had an office there. But it was some part of like small business center. But this looks like what you just sent, Eric, is great. It's like Power Up 2030, small business development. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the small business development center that I'm thinking. Um, but then there's also Center for Contract, all these things. So that, and maybe they even have like, maybe they have an academic program there, and we could reach out to a professor or something. That would be great. So this is really good. Maybe that'll be our first step, reaching out to them, and um, and thinking about for the fall, um, a bunch of folks that we could invite as guests that'll help start to shape what the committee is. Okay, great. In our last few minutes, it's probably a perfect time because William just mentioned a business fair. Um, this is a good chance to bring that up. That's our old business, talking about continued planning for the business fair. And maybe, I think it would still be good if we could have this in October. William has already said that if we need, he might be able to help us with a location to have it in. I've also reached out initially to LaGuardia Community College to see if they'd be interested in partnering or helping in any way or connecting with us with this. And we can see, I'll see what they say. Um, in some ways I feel like because our district is so big, you know, going all the way from Woodside and further Wynwood Gardens and all that, and Blissville, all the way, you know, through Sunnyside and Long Island City.
Maspeth, a little bit of
Maspeth, I forgot Maspeth, right, a little tiny bit. So
And
does it make-
and a sliver of Astoria. We always
And-
forget that little part of
yeah,
Astoria.
a little bit of Northern Boulevard. So I wonder, like, as much as I appreciate the offer, William, and it might be good for us to do there because it is easy to get to. I think your location that you suggested. I wonder if we could get it at sponsorship at LaGuardia or Sunnyside Community Services, if it might just be if those locations might be a little more in between, if either of them would help and we could have it. And then there's questions like, is it better to have it in the daytime or in the evening?
From my experience, evening is best, or a weekend, a Saturday during the day.
Ah,
LaGuardia is the perfect anchor, I think, because everyone from around Queens comes to LaGuardia. But I think wherever makes sense strategically, for the best turnout, let's do it. Yeah. If space is an issue, though, you know, if SCS has an issue for the particular date that we decide, or LaGuardia has other things going on, you know, We're Trying to Move is happy to host. You know, we could use one of our sites, our Beacon site. We have access to the gym over at PS 361.
okay, that's good. And I think you did, that's what you were mentioning to me before. That's good. And I think so. The question is, does anybody have experience with any of the city services, like whether it's SBS or other agencies that might come be our exhibitors at such a fair? When would they be able to come? Are there folks that can come in the evening or on a weekend, or are we going to be kind of stuck? And I don't know how it works.
No, they're community liaisons, and so that is their job. Um, I think we just need to lock in a date as soon as possible. So the outreach is just a lot easier afterwards. Because if we can give people enough notice in advance, it just helps to really maximize the space with as many vendors and or city agency partners to come out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, I'm thinking like I don't know what big things on the calendar in October would be that we want to avoid, but I'm thinking if we could do like mid-October, you know. When do the clock change? It's always good to do things before the clock changes, right? That's November, right?
Yeah, I think it's in November.
It's usually like the first week.
November 1st,
November 1st?
2026. Yeah.
Wow. So then if we do it in October, that's good. Maybe we could do, let's depend on when they're available. But but if we think like, you know, city agencies and others, I don't know that we should have like commercial folks there. And then I guess the other question we have is we might need some kind of shared sponsor so that like just so that there's no, I don't know how some of this works when you have an event like this. Evelyn, William, you probably know better than me, or Eric. Do we have so that they're addressing liability? Like, you know, we can't put the community board in a weird position. So it's, you know, if other city agencies are coming, and you know, obviously if somebody slips and falls, are they going to sue CB2, or are they going to sue the venue, or you know, how does that all work? Do people have to sign contracts to come? Oh, you're muted, William.
Right. I said, no, not necessarily. This is a community event. They're, I mean, we're essentially a part of the city.
Yeah.
So any city agency that we're asking to be a part of this, they're coming on as partners. So it wouldn't necessarily be a sponsorship. Now we can talk to local businesses and do outreach that way to get them to sponsor an event like this. And the money that we raise from that, we'll use to uplift the event itself. So maybe to purchase supplies, food, whatever. Or other nonprofits could also
Right.
co-sponsor the event, and then
Yeah.
the money that they provide, we can use for whatever it is that we might need to make this a successful event. So I think just to ask to get those city agencies out and those other partners we talked about is more than enough. It's sufficient.
All right.
I think the biggest thing is date and place. Those are the two
Yeah, I
biggest things we
was-
should figure out.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like we got to get the date in the place, and things will start to fall into place once we have that. I think once we have the date in the place, we can go to agencies and say, can you make it this date? And we can start, rounding up people for that, and agencies, and then it's easier probably to get co-sponsors and participants, and then figure out how to spread the word. We're definitely, it's gonna be some organizing, and we don't committees, only some of the committees like the engagement committee tend to put on events, right? Like, I don't know any other committees that have put on events, so to speak. Has any, Raphael, not since you've been here, right? And I don't think any have since I've been here. Kenny,
Yeah,
you?
that's right.
Right.
Is that something we would want to get help from the engagement committee?
Yes. Yes, definitely. And I'm wondering, like, maybe we can even get volunteers from the general board to kind of help, and participate. But it's going to take, it's going to be it's going to be a bunch of work, but it can be can put us on the map, and it can also, do something really good for the community. So I'm hoping as much as everybody can, we can get, participate. And when I spoke to LaGuardia, they wanted to know a little bit about and who's coming and whatever. So I drafted a little document, and I'll share that with everybody. And then we can look at it, because it'll be the thing we can share. It kind of has our event goals, and just, kind of like a one-liner or one elevator pitch of what it is that we can explain to people. But if some of I don't want to put everything on, dump everything on the committee, but I also don't want to do it all myself. So if we can all kind of like take some tasks and then recruit the engagement committee to help as well, and get, even sometimes if we're just jotting notes on this document, I'll create, who are we going to get to help participate.
It would be good to be able to work on it over the summer.
Yeah, I would actually, I can create a project plan, so we can just have a full plan in place, so we can map this out a lot easier. Because right now we have a lot of things in the air. I want to just organize this a little better. So I'll add this to my task list as well. Let's meet up in a couple of weeks. Let's break this down into bite-sized pieces. I'll put this on a project plan. Everybody will have access to it. And then we can have clarity on roles, delegation, what people want to volunteer to do. But I think we're saying in mid-October, so that's a start. I think we're saying place could potentially be SCS, What's on the Move, and or LaGuardia. So we would have to have those conversations to see what's more feasible. And then just creating a list of different partners that we want to invite for the expo. That would be a huge thing. Once we get that knocked out, then it's just a matter of doing the outreach to all those individuals. And then it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah. And, William, I think you make a good point about the, and then the outreach of getting attendees, right? So who do we want to get, and who do we want to be there? And that'll obviously impact the date and time we pick, if it's a weekend or if it's a evening or daytime. Because obviously a lot of times bars and restaurants, they're in the evening is going to be hard for them, but maybe on the weekend in the middle of the day is easier. I don't know. But do we also want to, have, makers and artists come, would-be entrepreneurs, as well as people who have current businesses? And then, how do we reach them? And we can do as much outreach as we can, but we can also reach out to Woodside on the Move and Sunnyside Community Services and LaGuardia and both bids and they can blast out to their list to help us raise awareness.
It might be helpful to kind of also flip our thinking a bit, not overall, but just to get some perspective. You know, sort of ask the question like, well, why do I, the business owner, want to come to this? What am I going to get from this?
Right.
Also, for businesses, it wouldn't work for like during the weekend. That's like their busiest time. Like for instance, our merchant lunch, we usually do it on a weekday that isn't Friday. And it would be like at a random time, like from 12 to 2:30. That's like kind of their off time. Because it's like right before lunch. But I mean, like we could work out a different date and time because I know it's an expo.
Yeah, I was
But the
gonna ask, wait,
weekend,
sorry, is it target audience businesses or is it the community at large?
Yeah, I misspoke when I said business. Yeah, I think it's the community at large. It's
Okay.
businesses, it's individuals, because there's a lot of resources and we don't know how they will all interact. And in a way, that's the purpose here, is to kind of seed the interaction, I think.
right? I just wanted to add that because of like a business standpoint of like what I see when we do our business luncheons. In a like as a for a business, it's going to be tough to come on a
No.
weekend.
Yeah, no, to Evelyn's point, that's why I'm raising this because we actually need to know what is this business expo for and who are we targeting? Who do we want to come out? Because if we're saying as for small businesses, then it has to be during the day and not a weekend, to Evelyn's point.
I think, I mean, the original thought I had, and I'm totally open to however we want to do this, was that it should be small businesses and would-be entrepreneurs, or aspiring entrepreneurs, and finding out how do they open. But we can totally continue that conversation. I know we're going to run into the other people's meeting, so we're going to have to jump off of this. But let's continue this conversation. I'll share my document about the goal and all that with everybody. And then and William, maybe you can incorporate that into the project plan, and then we can offline discuss. No, we got a busy meeting today.
Yeah.
Man, you guys got me working.
We're all here to help each other. Thank you, William.
Yes, yes,
Welcome.
yes.
So without any further discussion, do I have a motion?
I second the motion.
A motion to adjourn, I should say.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. So it sounds like we're adjourning and letting everything go to the next one, next meeting. So stay tuned, look online, and we'll keep working on this committee business fair. Thank you all for a great meeting.